Hey guys, Diplex here again. Welcome back to Men of War Assault Squad 2 and RobZ Realism Mod. It's time for another alternative fictional World War II battle that I like to call a what-if scenario. This time a scenario suggested to us by Microsoftman over in the comment section of the previous video. What if the Western Allies made it to Berlin before the Soviets? I think it's a really cool idea, so it is what we're going to do today. This intro has actually been recorded after the battle itself. I've been having trouble getting this working for some reason, so I just said I'm not spending another 5 minutes on an intro. I'm just going to get to the battle and hope it works. So I don't feel stressed at all. The battle has already happened. Now I just get to sit here and chit-chat. I don't feel any pressure to hit a start button, because I never will hit a start button. Oh, that's an interesting way of looking at it. But anyway, yes, we've had warm weather here in Stockholm. My computer has been like overheating from this intense battle. Some people have been saying like, well, that doesn't make any sense. You're so far up north. I know Stockholm is close to the polar circle, but that's not how temperature works. It's simply not guaranteed to be warmer the further south you get. It has a lot to do with the seas, you know, the oceans, the winds and streams carrying heat and cold around the world. So Stockholm usually gets temperatures up to like 28 degrees Celsius, which is really hot, especially if you're sat in a room with the sun blazing on the windows and with no air conditioning, which is something I've acquired. So hopefully, if we have more warm days later this month and for the rest of the summer, I won't be having any overheating issues. So yes, once again, thank you for the suggestion, Microsoftman. Be sure to drop another one here in the comment section of this video, everyone listening, in case you do want to see something, a fictional but yet somewhat historical World War II battle, at least a plausible battle. You see, I've deployed the 29th Infantry Division in this case. The 29th made it as far as to Bremen, I think, which is in northwestern Germany before the war ended. So historically, perhaps if this was to be historically correct, I suppose the Soviets would have lost some major battle earlier this year or in the end of 1944, which would have essentially kept them further away from Berlin. It's definitely a plausible thing. Of course, the Western Allies could have made it to Berlin before the Soviets in case the Germans on the Eastern Front would have done better, or I suppose, or if the Soviets would have done worse. It's cool. It really, really is cool. And in the... Oh yes, let's take a look at the German positions. We have all the time in the world now. We've got Panzer IVs here on both sides, a couple per side. In the center rear we have a Tiger and a Panther. Now this might not seem like the craziest of choices. We haven't deployed some super heavy German tanks. Well, to make this a doable scenario for the Americans and of course the Germans here defending, and to make it to achieve a kind of like an historical outcome yet being a fictional battle, I have to take the size into account. This is going to be a very crammed space. We're not going to get a lot of tanks in this small area. And the Germans have superior positions. They have entrenched tanks. They're static. They're not moving, so they don't have to take that into account when firing. There's also hundreds of infantrymen here. Many of them have Panzerschrecks and Panzerfausts. So if I would have deployed like 2 King Tigers and 2 Jagged Tigers and Jagged Panthers and everything, it would have just been... No. It wouldn't have mattered how many Pershings we put up. We could have sent like 30 Pershings in a line. Many of them would miss moving to their position, and by the time they get up here, those, you know, like half a dozen super heavy German tanks would have destroyed them. So it just doesn't work. And while I might find it interesting playing with the idea of not having a winner here today, that is just kind of irrelevant, because if you've gotten this far, this is symbolically the last stand of the German Third Reich. This is like symbolically the end of the war. Once the Soviets historically raised the Soviet flag on top of the Parliament building, it was over. If they would have won today, the Germans, the Americans would have just won a minute later. You know what I mean? So it's like in the end, you're gonna have to come to a very conclusive victory, since there's nothing after this. There's nothing after it. This is the end. Yes, there might have been, of course, some battle elsewhere in Germany or elsewhere in the world after this, which would have marked the last battle of the war, but in Berlin, this would have been the last. I mean, of course, there might have been some pockets of resistance, hours and days outside this area, you know, in some suburb. It's irrelevant, because this is where the main shit happened. Anyway, German infantry, I will mention it during the battle, just a mix of units, good new weaponry, lots of STG-44s, I think I mentioned that as well, which were handed out, especially to a lot of the, like, conscripts who were called in late, like Minutemen, almost. Minutemen, by the way, is just a word for it. I think that came up during the American Revolution. It's like racing civilian troops in a minute. Like, they have a minute's training, essentially. Like, they take a minute to muster. Here, get your shoes on, put your boots on, here's a musket, and here's a pouch of cartridges and gunpowder and whatnot. So, and that's a minute, man. You made a soldier in a minute. It's a cool word. I think that's the meaning behind it, the way I think interpreted it. I don't know if it's the exact meaning of it, but logically it would make sense if that's what it meant. Do I have to mention much else? No, I don't think so. Thank you guys for the suggestions. Keep them coming. I'm having hiccups, sorry. Something I would like to stay away from when it comes to these fictional battles is, like, someone suggested, and this is by no means meant to be offensive to whoever suggested it. I appreciate your enthusiasm. But there was a suggestion called, and I hope I haven't said this in the actual battle part. It was quite a long battle, so I've forgotten what I've said, because otherwise I would sound quite tedious. But I just want to make it clear so you guys don't waste your time, because I won't pick one of these suggestions. And that was, what if Poland invaded Germany in 1939? Point is, same two factions, so we're not swapping out any factions, so no new weapons or gear or vehicles or armor or anything. It's in the same place, so no new terrain, same area, and it's not really fictional or a what-if scenario, because there would have, of course, been counterattacks in some areas along the border. I know that the Poles weren't exactly told to invade Germany, but of course there would have been counterattacks. So you're just replacing the attacker with the defender, and it doesn't make for much of a different scenario. If you took Normandy and replaced the attacker with the defender, if you had Germans attacking Normandy, which doesn't make sense, but right, hear me out. You're still in the same area with the same two factions, but what makes it a more interesting what-if battle is the fact that it's an amphibious assault. It's going to be a major difference being from the landing, coming ashore from the water in an open area, in just open terrain, like, or flat ground, land. It's not going to be such a big difference to just have the Germans attacking, or the Poles attacking the German positions instead of the other way around. It's still going to sound the same, it's going to look the same, it's going to feel the same. God, I really like recording the intros after I've recorded the battle, because then I get it all done, and I don't have the pressure of hitting that start button, so I don't feel stressed. By the time now, most of you guys have probably stopped watching this intro, and many have skipped. But now I've talked about the climate, I've talked about the weather, I've talked about how temperature works, I've talked about how shit gets overheated. Talked about, infantry positioning, tanks, and reasoning behind this, and what I think about these what-if scenarios. Hope you guys will enjoy this battle. If you haven't heard me out at all, at least you've probably heard the first minute or so of this intro, and I don't know who I'm talking to, since you're not actually listening to this, so whoever I'm addressing right now isn't even listening to this, so it's completely irrelevant, and God, it's such a weird thing. But anyway, at least they would have heard the basics of the video, so I'm not too worried about not being heard this far into the intro. I have no idea how long I've been talking for. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, who knows. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the battle, and I'll see you guys soon again. Ciao. The battle has begun. Entering the battlefield here on the right side of the screen is the 29th Infantry Division, supported by armor. We've got 4 different types of tanks here in Wave 1. We have 2 M10 tank destroyers, 2 Sherman 105s, and 2 regular M4A3s, I do believe, as well as the M4A3 with the flamethrower attachment. I know it's not the Calliope, that's the iconic rocket tank, or the Sherman with the rocket artillery on it. It's not the Rhino with the bulldozer, so What is it called? I can't remember. Let me know if you know. Moving up together with the infantry to create a firing line. How are we doing here on the left side? Pretty good. Oh, tanks are taking a lot of damage from the German armor, as well as Panzerfausts and Panzerschrecks. Holy shit! Big explosion here on the right side as one of the Shermans gets hit by the Panzerschreck in the right side trench. Oh, another Panzerfaust coming out quickly. Second tank down. Only one made it to the bridge. It's still kicking. This is the regular M4A3, now hit by the Panther, and it's gonna go down. Simple as that. Wow. So you guys have been asking me for more close-up footage of the infantry on the ground, so I'm gonna do my best to follow the troops around on the ground. Perhaps we'll follow a group or a single soldier and see how they do. You know, it'd be really cool if I could, like, figure out how many survivors there are from each wave. So by the end of the battle, we could actually look how many troops survived part of Wave 1 and Wave 2 and Wave 3, and we can also find out if some waves fared worse than others depending on when they were deployed and whatnot. Just really cool to find out, actually, and I'm sure there's a good way to do it, so I'm gonna figure out how and simply start doing that. Troops making their way up here to the center monument. Troops falling back a bit now. Another 2 platoons have been deployed, so there's about 60 men per wave now. A lot of troops here in this small area. So they're not really retreating, they're staying low, they're waiting for the next wave of armor to support them, to help them push up. And it should arrive any moment now. So the German infantry in question is a big mix of like leftover units, anything they could scramble and rally here for the final defense. We have SS troops, we have Wehrmacht troops, we've got military police, Panzer Grenadiers, company staff, Volksgrenadiers, you know, irregular infantry, conscripts. And the funny thing is, a lot of STG-44s were issued towards the end of the war, so you would find a lot of conscripts carrying assault rifles, which is kind of interesting. Kind of a weird look. So the second wave of armor has arrived. This time around, it is the Jumbo Sherman, 2 per side. Upgraded armor and packing a heavier gun. In this case, the 76mm main gun, the same one you can find on the Sherman 76, the EC8. So good to see. These guys, as you can tell, are already soaking up more of the damage. I think that was the Tiger. And it was a direct hit, and it just bounced. So these guys are going to be active for quite a bit longer than the Sherman's part of the first wave. They're going to just support the infantry for a longer time, so we can tell more of the infantrymen are making their way up here to the trench. The sort of almost like a... what do you call it? Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but it's what castles would have around them. I know the name in Swedish, but I can't muster the knowledge for it in English. Another fun fact is that these guys here in their late war uniforms also have the helmet, the division insignia on helmets and uniforms, which is another fun little historical touch. It's really cool to see. I love using these late war uniforms as well. 29th Infantry Division, huh? Cool. We're using the tanks as cover, or what's left of them. But they're advancing. I mean, they have no tank cover now. Both of the Jumbo Shermans here on the right side are knocked out. Same goes for the ones... Actually, the ones on the left side are fine. They're active. And they are actively engaging the German armor. Panther is still active. How is that German Tiger doing? It is still active as well. They are trading shots now. Cool to see. And the 50 caliber machine guns up top will be targeting German infantry, and I believe they've done so because most of the troops are dead here on the left side. Next wave rolling in. We have 2 Shermans. I'm not sure these were ever put into like any larger production numbers, but I just think they look awesome. They look a bit obscene, absurd. These guys pack 90mm main guns, the same ones you would find on the Pershing. In fact, I think the entire turret comes from the M26 Pershing, so it's just a beast. The rest should be a fairly standard Sherman, perhaps with a few modifications, perhaps upgraded armor. These are some serious battleships here on land, packing some serious firepower. In fact, if one of these guys actually targeted that Tiger and fired, I'm sure it would be knocked out in an instance. This one seems to have been a little shaken here by the German fire. I'm not sure if the crew is dead. He died somehow. Oh, yeah. That one is disabled. How is the one here on the right side doing? It's knocked out before it really came into effect. That's unfortunate. A lot of infantry stacking around the center now. Oh, even Panzerschrecks being used against the infantry. So a lot of troops in reserve here, just waiting for more armor to cover their crossing here of this trench. It's not a river really. I think it's just dug out as a way to stop enemy tanks from like getting over easily, which makes a lot of sense. Both EC8s though, or sorry, both jumbos. A lot of different Shermans here today. A lot of different names to keep an eye on. Oh, still firing away at the enemy Tiger, which is good. Oh, I hear more armor. Oh, is there another wave coming? I'm not sure. Well, there's more infantry coming in here for sure, so companies after companies being deployed. Oh, I can hear it. Oh, this is gonna be a big one, boys. This is gonna be a good one. Any second now, they should be rolling in. Here comes the final push. We have 6 heavy tanks, 6 M26, I think E4 Pershings. If I can remember it correctly, I mean, it's been days since I made this battle. I just haven't been able to get cracking on it, so, yeah. 90mm main guns moving in a firing line, kind of almost resembling the broadside of a super heavy battleship. This is sick, of course, not packing 300mm main guns, but still. Wow. So these tanks will surely deal with the remaining German armor. Panther and Tiger will live no longer. Oh, but that 76 knocked out the Tiger. It stole some of the... It stole the spotlight from these Pershings. But yeah, that Panther is going to be dealt with super quickly. One round is... Oh my god! Holy shit! They just sent that turret to Mars. What the fuck? In like 80 years from today, in 45 or something, they will be finding a frickin' a Panther turret on Mars. Oh my god. Okay, the infantry has now crossed the river. Sorry, I did forget about that whole keeping an eye on the troops. Oh my god. Camera sometimes doing a little weird shit. Usually controllable though. Oh yes. We got troops on the ground now. Oh, we've always had the troops on the ground, of course, but now crossing the river. They're using the bridges. They're kind of swimming across. It's not so deep, so it's not impossible. Now they're starting to flood the trenches. But we have a lot of German infantry still holding the opposite side here. MG42s, STG44s, all kinds of good stuff. Wow. I mean, this is a brutal battle. I love this. You got the burning tanks here in the rear. Absolutely cooked off tanks, man. Absolutely cooked by those 90mm guns. Speak so weirdly sometimes. 90mm main guns. 90 Mike. Look at the German infantry out here. They're just making their last stand. A lot of Volksgrenadiers. I love seeing the variety in uniforms. I love this, the splinter pants here, or I'm not sure what that kind of camouflage is called, but I believe it was one of the the earliest camouflages in the war, actually, which is kind of freaking awesome if you think about it. Oh, so many troops now swarming across. Now that all the enemy tanks have been dealt with. Is this I'm not sure if this Panzer IV is active or not, but it looks fairly untouched. The crew might have just abandoned it. I don't know. Oh, look at this. We got a major on the ground or something, a captain or something fucking badass with a Colt 45. Why don't we follow this guy here? It's a captain. I saw his captain rank insignia. Look at him. He's a badass. He's got a hand grenade as well. He's gonna throw a hand grenade. Or not. He's gonna contemplate doing it. Holy shit! He's fine. He's okay. He just survived a Panzerschreck. I don't know how, but he's fine. And he's using his Colt 45 up close here. I think, in fact, the captain would definitely have a primary weapon. I mean, the only guy who would really have a... Oh, my God. He's up by the front line. He's earning his rank, man. I think they would... I mean, a captain... I think the senior officers would not use primary weapons as they wouldn't be seen so close to the front line. Captains and lieutenants leading their companies, in battle would, but major, lieutenant colonel, even a colonel, no. I mean, of course, they could use one. I mean, who would tell them otherwise? But this guy, I mean, here for the final battle of the war, of course, you want to be here when we raise the flag over the Reichstag. The Reichstag. The Reichstag. The Waffen-SS. It's so hard to swap between like a hardcore German pronunciation, which I'm fully capable of, and of course the more Americanized pronunciation, since I'm speaking English now. Like it's kind of hard to just swap between. Oh man, we still have a... Oh man! I just pulled a Men of War quote there. Oh man! There's an MG42 in there. Jesus Christ. Big explosion. I just don't know what happened. Oh, okay. Panzer IV wasn't fully knocked out, and it just got taken out now. Let's see if have they dealt with this guy yet? I think so. Yeah, it's cracked open. They've killed the crew. It wasn't dealt with before. Oh, now they're starting the battle here inside the main building, or the Parliament building. But this is such a cool scene to just like zoom out from after having like had this entire battle. This is awesome, man. I like this. Let me know what you guys would like to see next. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video. The intro you heard before this all began, this battle, I actually record after this, so I'm gonna try and remember what I've said now during the battle so that I don't have to repeat myself. The reason why I didn't do the intro first is because, as I said, I've been having so many crashes and overheating issues, and this is the first time I'm actually nailing it, which is really nice. I've had to even modify the mission a tiny bit, even cut down on some of the American tanks and the numbers of them just to not make the game crash. It's kind of unstable, especially when recording. But thank you guys for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this video. Look at them, they're clearing out the building. Unfortunately, I can't give you an internal view. There's literally nothing. There's just a wall here, but at least we can know they're fighting in there and leave the rest up to your imagination. What a crazy battle. A lot of American tanks destroyed. The Pershings was the final nail in the coffin, but I gotta give it to these easy, jumbo Shermans here on the... Oh, look at them moving up. That's awesome. These jumbo Shermans here on the left side for nailing the Tiger and probably a lot of the infantry. Let's have a quick look at what these guys actually did. 26 infantry kills, 1 tank kill, 14 infantry kills. The Pershings just came in and did a tiny bit of mop-up of infantry. Probably this one took out a tank, probably just fired some HE shells, perhaps some 30 cal or 50 cal. This guy's got 2. It's kind of hard to see what these guys did because they're all knocked out, so we won't ever be able to tell. But finally, of course, let's have a look at casualties. We're going to mark the Germans in red and the Americans in yellow. It's been hundreds of Americans have lost their life here today. Hundreds of Germans have as well. It's been an all-out insane battle. You got the troops gathering outside now. We're about to raise the flag. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this brutal battle, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon again. Ciao.